8:07 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Johnny B, Ken Weaver here, and we still got a lot of news to go. Thank you very much for joining us. Governor Bill Lee, of course, you know, he made a big announcement yesterday.
Because I've seen the lives of children changed when they had an opportunity to find the right school for their unique needs.
Yes, the governor's plan is to offer $7,075 in state funds to, in the first year, 20,000 students to attend a private school, homeschooling as well. By the following school year, every student in Tennessee will be able to utilize what some are calling vouchers. I want to welcome on into the program Tori Venable, who is the state director for Americans for Prosperity, one of my favorite organizations, by the way, Tori. So thanks for being here. And you folks, I mean, you've long been proponents at Americans for Prosperity. You've long been advocates for voucher systems and this kind of a thing. Talk a little bit about your initial thoughts as far as what the governor wants to do.
So we've long been for school choice, and we wanted to see universal school choice since we first started this effort back in 2013. And this is the first program that we've seen that actually is universal. So it's not going to have an income limit on it. It really would apply to every child across the state once it's fully implemented. And I mean, parents know best. Parents are going to know best what education system is going to work best for their child. And I'm so proud that our governor recognizes that and is driving that. Frankly, school choice is part of the Republican platform, and Republicans that don't support school choice, I question whether or not they are actually a conservative.
So one of the questions, and I'm going to ask you, I'm going to play for you some audio from some hysterical Democrats coming up, but I do want to ask this question though, because I think there's some conservatives, some Republicans who advocate for school choice, but they're not sure if this is the right plan to accomplish that. What would you say to those folks?
Well, I'm not really sure what they're talking about, the right plan to accomplish it. I mean, that's where they went wrong every time, is by putting limitations on it and not making it available to everyone. Of course, you know, we need to address the failing schools, and it makes sense that that's where we started with the pilot program in Davidson, Shelby, and now Hamilton counties. But, I mean, there's a multitude of reasons why a child might not be doing well in a public school system, and another education option would be better for them. And their parents are going to know that, not the government.
Tori, I want to, Tori Venable joining us, Tennessee State Director for Americans for Prosperity, talking about Governor Lee's voucher plan that he announced yesterday. I want to play you, this is a montage of, you know, these Democrats who are just using the worst kind of hyperbole.
Vouchers are a scam.
He's proposing to rip off Tennessee taxpayers simply to subsidize private school education for his wealthy friends and the wealthy few.
So we are talking about public dollars, taxpayer dollars, going to private institutions.
If you come after our public schools, we're coming after you.
Democratic lawmakers call the Freedom Education Scholarships a scam.
This is going to be on the taxpayers whose property taxes are going to increase in addition to their tax money going to private schools.
They fear this expansion could defund public schools.
If you as a parent choose to send your child there with your own money, and you want them to get education that is inferior to a traditional public school, by all means.
So those are the voices of John Ray Clemens, London Lamar, and Ramesh Bari, all Tennessee Democrats, who, Tori, I know that you know them well. There's just a lot of misinformation.
I've never heard a Democrat be concerned about a property tax increase ever. So that's
yeah. We had fun with that earlier, actually, Tori. But let me ask you. So the last part, where she says that, you know, a public school education is superior to a private school education. I mean, everyone who knows how to use Google understands that research has shown that private school students do better academically. They are more ready for college. I don't know where they're getting their information from. But
so where they're trying to pull that from is we rolled out ESAs, and it was a very small rollout because, of course, they sued to stop parents from having choice. Right. But it was the parents in the worst failing schools that had access first. And it takes a couple of years to undo the damage that has been done. especially if a child is below on reading or math.
It's got to bake
So
in.
they're looking at it. Yeah, they're looking at a test score from year one instead of the parental satisfaction. If you talk to 91% of the parents who are using school choice, they are very satisfied with their child's academic outcomes.
Talk a little bit about, I'm just going to let you answer some of the concerns in that montage. One of the statements was, oh, Governor Lee is just, doing this to help out his rich friends. Everyone is this is available to everyone.
It is available to everyone. It's available, and actually, when it rolls out, so the first 10,000 will actually be for low-income students.
Yeah.
Or people that are already eligible for the current ESA program. So, I mean, 10,000 of them will be universal. And, you think about the people that are middle class that are struggling to make ends meet. Everything is costing more. It's a godsend to them to be able, if they're so close, and even if the ESA won't completely cover a private school tuition, if you have $7,000 back of your tax dollars, by the way, to be able to put towards your child's education, it makes it a lot more reasonable for a family, instead of paying $500 a month for a private school, that maybe they only have to pay an additional $50 a month. And that is doable. That makes it in reach for so many families across Tennessee.
Tori, I've got to ask, within that montage of hysteria from the Democrats, they said this is a defunding of public schools, but it's really not, because it's two different buckets of money from what I understand.
Yeah, and that's absolutely false. If you look at our state budget for the past, decade, give or take, we have had budget surpluses of between $2 and $4 billion with a B dollars nearly every single year. And we've been looking for ways to return the taxpayers their money. And this is the best way to do it. This is one of the best ways that we are going to allow parents to choose the education that works best for their child. And it's a false choice to say that you're going to defund public schools to do this. That's absolutely false. There's plenty of people who are very happy with their public school, and they're going to stay right where they're at. But there are plenty of parents that want other options. And since we do have per pupil funding, that money is the TISA funding, the school funding formula, that stays in the public school where the students are staying at. The scholarships are a completely separate thing. And we do have money in the budget. We've had $2 billion plus in the budget year over year. What better way to return taxpayers' dollars to them by letting them choose the education for their children?
Tori, I talked about this earlier, and of course I got the usual "you're racist" nonsense. Because they believe that what the Republicans are trying to do is defund, Shelby County and Davidson County. There's a lot of black students in those school districts. But to me, if you're advocating for any student, but particularly, since I'm being called a racist, black students to be able to attend better schools, how is that racist? It seems to me like the ones that are racist are the ones that are wanting to keep these students trapped in these terrible schools.
Exactly. I mean, why would you trap any child in a failing school? Why would you do that? Like, when you know the difference that education can make in a child's life and the future of our state and the future generations that are at stake, why would you trap any child in an education system that is not working for them? And the only person that's really going to advocate for their child and know what's best for their child is the parent. So this lines up as a simple, this battle ahead, so to speak. You've got your Democratic, Socialist, and unions on one side that want the failing status quo. And on the other side, you have a conservative education revolution of parents that want more control and more say over how their children are educated. I applaud Governor Lee for moving forward with this. Now is the time.
Now, let me ask this, Tori. One concern I do have is that this might change the dynamic of private schools. For example, one of the big things that I like about private schools are smaller class sizes. With the extra money that they'll be getting, will they be able to hire more teachers, expand some of these schools? Is there any possible negative impact to the private schools involved in all this?
Well, I mean, if the private schools try to grow too fast, that could be problematic, right? But if this is an ESA and a true ESA, they will not know where the money is. The private schools will not know where the money is coming from. Therefore, Like, there won't be any changes to curriculum. There won't be any additional tests that they're on the hook for, anything like that. They're not going to change the way they operate at all. They're just going to see an increased people wanting to go to their school if they're in one of those areas and they're providing a great service of education to students.
The other question I would have is, okay, so let's just say, and I do keep bringing this up, I apologize to people that are tired of this, but if you've got a student who is coming from a public school and underperforming in the public school, the parents take advantage of the scholarships and they go to a private school, but that student isn't up to the private school standards. How do we help bridge that gap so that student gets the help that student needs to catch up to the other students that have been in the private school environment for years?
So the ESA also includes tutoring. It includes a number of things. It's not just private school tuition. An education savings account can be used for a multitude of things, but tutoring is absolutely one of those things. And so, I'm excited most about the micro schooling aspect of it, which is, basically you could hire, or 10 families could hire a retired teacher and give them their ESA account. So like $7,000 per student. So that's $70,000 for that teacher, who gets to have, all of the control over how those children are educated, and parents could just join together and choose what's best for their kids. That's what we want to see. We believe in parents. We believe in students. We believe in the future of Tennessee. You don't fight for school choice unless you see a future for our state.
Tori Venable joining us, Americans for Prosperity, Tennessee State Director. Now, Tori, I've got to ask, yesterday, the organization came out and endorsed Nikki Haley for president over Donald Trump, obviously. Very quickly, so what was that decision based on, and did you take into account the polls?
That was Americans for Prosperity Action, and that is an aligned super PAC. I can speak as for them, but that is not my role as state director. It's not just about best person to beat Donald Trump. That's not the case at all. It's the best person to beat Joe Biden. We cannot have another 4 years of this trashed economy and the inflation that we've had. I mean, you can look at, no one's better off than we were 4 years ago. We think Nikki Haley is the best person. AFP Action thinks Nikki Haley is the best person to turn the page, reunite the country, and beat Joe Biden, most importantly.
So I'm fascinated by this. I'm not challenging you by any stretch of the imagination, because I'm all for everyone just having their own political opinion. Do you hear from folks who are Trump supporters who may disagree with that? And, is that
yeah. I mean, this is Tennessee. Come on now. Of course. I mean, our grassroots supporters as AFP, they are not happy. They were not happy with it to begin with. This is the first time AFP Action has endorsed or engaged in a presidential primary. And the only reason, there's so much more that goes into it, but we are looking at also, so say if President Donald Trump were to win his second term, if that were to happen, we are likely to lose the Senate and lose the House. And then, yes, we have Donald Trump as president, but we can't get anything done as a nation. Now, if by chance Nikki Haley, who does, according to our internal polling, has a path to victory, if Nikki Haley is president, it actually lifts the tide. We do maintain a majority in the Senate, and we do maintain a majority in the House. And that is the type of thing that if you're an organization that's focused on policy, focused on bringing more freedom to all Americans and reigniting the American dream, that's the kind of thing that we want to see happen, so that we can get our country back on track, frankly.
All right. Well, Tori Venable, thank you very much for joining us here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So much to debate there, but we'll leave it there and appreciate you calling in. And we certainly do agree on the need for school choice.